Here we are. So here we are, doing what we love to do, which is sitting together, drinking coffee, and talking about life and our experiences, our kids, and everywhere, how we've gotten to this point today where we're sitting together and filming our first podcast.
Crazy.
Right?
Kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's interesting that just before we came to sit down, like always and like every day, we're just sitting down having conversations, or like you're hanging out and we're having conversations, or we go somewhere and we just are chatting, and just that's our life. Like that's how we got to this point with a lot of this stuff, and I think that's awesome. So one of the big things is like, what keeps coming up is one of our core values is authenticity.
Yes, that's always in every conversation, that we are real and we want to be real and we want to share our experiences. And just be who we are and do it in the way that we've done it, which is this.
Literally sitting with coffee, chatting.
That's it. Yeah.
So authenticity as a core value, a lot of what that brings up is how we constantly have to like check ourselves to be authentic, because naturally what happens is we just go into, I don't know, like the thoughts, is she looking at me this way, or how do I look am I sitting properly? Is my hair in a nice spot? Is that like all the like, so the thing of like really being like coming from our hearts, it's something really big. And even though it seems like it should be the most natural thing, it's like somehow the most covered up, like it's like our biggest access to everything in our lives, and yet it's the hardest thing to access. I hope I didn't create a really bad sound right now. I just touched this.
We'll see.
We'll see later.
No, it's very true, because that also, the underlying thing that when you said that comes up is fear of how you look, how you sound, what will people think, what will happen in your everyday life. And then we've spoken about this before. You end up waking up thinking you're being authentic, but you put on a mask.
Yeah.
And then everywhere you go, that mask is there. So at work, there's one. At home, there's one. And then that's part of the exhaustion of the end of the day, because you've been wearing masks all day. And then you lose the you. So that's why I think for us, authenticity is so key, because we've been there and we felt that. And the more that we've shifted that reality to just being you, it's freed us. It's opened something up for us in our everyday experience of life.
Oh, it's been huge. And I think it's crazy that when we talk about it, like just being yourself seems to be, even though it's strange, because when you actually see someone who's like really authentically themselves and like in their own body and just like fully expressive, everyone loves that.
They love it.
So
we love it.
We all love it. So like, and you're attracted to someone like that, like whether it's relationship, friendship, coworker who might inspire you, like someone you see on a podcast, like their being really like speaks to you, right? So we all love it, but I guess maybe what is restrictive, what I'm getting at is like, if we all love it, then why don't we all just show up like that? Absolutely. Knowing that, right?
That's the question.
So I guess like if I just think of myself, why? Because authenticity, like starting this out with authenticity, that's a good way to kind of, get into, because it's been a theme. I think of myself and I'm just like, I guess maybe the underlying thing was that the being myself was just, I was critical of it. Right. So I assumed that if I just be myself, and I didn't have like I didn't have that language to think to myself, like what I would say to my kids. I couldn't think that to myself to say, if you're not yourself and people like you for that, then they're not liking you, and that will like just eat away at your soul. Like it just seems so logical now, but I didn't have that language, I guess. So, or that thought. So, you just live from not you. And then you're like, at least I'll be accepted.
Yes.
And at least I'll feel like belonging.
it's not a feeling that people will just like you or there's something wrong with you. Like for me, it's always been that. And this thing, a side note, you're different with different people because you want to be like how they will accept you, or you'll be good enough to be with those people. So you can't really be yourself. And then you end up being a little bit lost of like, who really am I when I'm with this group of friends, that family? And the core of that was that my actual who I think I am is not good enough to be with those people. Or that they're going to judge me in a way that is what comes out. So then you end up again creating this persona, creating this person that you're not. Then you're not happy. At the end of the day, you're not happy with that. So for us, authenticity means that this is everything we say is truly from us. The good, the bad, all of it, whatever good and bad is, because that is where we have come in our journey. Every day, shedding all of those layers and the masks to just be present in life and just experience it, which I think is beautiful. It's freeing.
So beautiful. And I think it's a constant practice because it's not something that comes easy after years and years and years of being a certain way. It's this thing of how we talk about how like the first reaction is the past coming up and then the thing after that is what you're actually choosing. And that has always been very powerful for me, I think, because then I'm not trapped in that thing at the beginning, the first thing, that it's not like a shame or a blame or there's that reaction again, there's that feeling again, there's all that stuff. And instead it could be more a recognition and then a correction. Correction for, and even that is not like a correction, you know what I mean? It's not like, and then I did something bad. It's like, no, how I want to show up is a certain way. So I correct for that.
That's right.
And then that allows, it just like shifts your reality. Really huge, big difference.
And why authenticity for us and sharing our stories with the world is really gold is then anyone who is living in that space can also see that there is another way and that it can help you. And it's freeing. You don't have to, because we all hear people say online roughly about not feeling themselves or acting a certain way, or we say like, I love this person for being real, but then you think you can't be real, right? So it's out there.
Their real is cool. Their real is like awesome, is deep.
So how come that person can come on, be themselves and do all of that, but then for yourself you don't see that, right? So I think that's what's really beneficial, that people can see, and it's not just for celebrities, it's not just for influencers, it's for everybody, everyday life.
I wonder if it would be good to just try to explain that whole background, to try to explain why we're sitting here, to try to explain, and to kind of just like unpack. I think it's really hard to unpack because it's a long journey. It's not like it's not even from, how we always say that it's the last, I don't know, maybe 6 months, under a year for sure, but like the last few months that have really been a catalyst. But at the same time, I don't know, there's something about that that's like a landmark or like a milestone. But at the same time, there's also like your whole life. Like my whole life. Like everything or else. So like it's a whole story. So I don't know. Maybe I think I don't know. Do you want to start by saying a little bit of the recent stuff? Wherever you,
So it's been our whole life of kind of, now I can today sit and reflect on my life and say it has been my whole life that led me here, but I couldn't see that before. The last few months has been a lot of experiences, but really it's more a few years that there's been drastic experiences in my personal life that I've had this nagging voice to get out of the state of mind and the life I'm in, but I couldn't hear it. And I would hear it as something, I would make conclusions about myself from it versus like a calling to be like, I'm trying to get you out of where you're stuck. And then I had one day, one experience many months ago driving, where I felt like I had this out of body experience of myself driving a long distance drive. And I was asking myself, what is my life? Like, what is this life? How did I get here? And not that why am I driving this car, but how did I get to this point in my life? And not in anything of saying I hate it or I don't want it, but just actually almost like waking my eyes up as if I'm watching versus being the one in that life. And from that day, something just shifted in my reality. And I had a few days of literally locking myself in a room and just being by myself and having moments of crying, having moments of joy, having no feelings, being almost dull, and just lying in bed. Like my mind and my body had just said, you need this. And then I told family closest to me that I need these days. I'm not communicating because I needed that time. I needed peace and quiet. I needed to really, I didn't even know I was doing this, but now I can reflect that I was watching my thoughts and everything that was going on. And that is where I could say is the point that really, I may have had these points before, but that day, something just shifted. I remember saying, you're having like a midlife crisis. And it doesn't have to be that something horrific happened. I just had a moment in my life that I was like, this is where this reality stops. And no more of that life can continue because it wasn't working for me. And
do you think, sorry to interrupt you, but do you think that no more of this life, just to tease out like the difference between like the specific circumstances versus your feeling in it, or was it like you saw yourself at a distance and you're like, I want to live in this awareness of my life rather than just like be caught in it and be lost in it and not actually see it? Like, you know what I mean?
What was that? I didn't feel like I felt like I was just a character, not the director, right? I felt like almost like lost and as if I was this on autopilot, but not really present in my life. And no, it wasn't that I didn't want my life. It's that I wanted to actually experience it in a positive way. So I just wanted to be present in my life, but be more happy and fulfilled. I know everyone says happy, but genuinely waking up and just being like, this is life and I want to experience it to the fullest, but not be at the mercy of my day. So that's the difference of like when people say, or when I said I wasn't happy, I love my life, but I was not showing up every day, enjoying every moment because of thoughts, because of the past, because of the have-tos, the way that life has to be. And if one little thing went wrong, then that became like an issue overall in life. So that was where it was more coming from. And also my experience with my kids, my experience with my husband, my family. All of that is amazing, but it needed to be more deep, in a deeper way that I felt was not, because it was more robotic. Life becomes a little bit robotic over time. Right? So you're just going through the motions, but are you really just living life and experiencing it for the beauty that it is and for the crazy moments?
I guess what it is like an ease. You're looking for like an ease to be with all of it, like an ease, right? Like it's not that you don't experience, let's say, the crying, the sadness, the, you know, I'm under pressure, there's something going on, there's whatever, or the like, I'm elated, this is such a fun experience, I'm whatever. It's not that you don't experience, I think, all of that as the emotions, but there's like this underlying thing, like ease, that maybe you could even say we've discovered that and are getting better and better at living with that underlying ease. And then there's emotions, and then there's like, or feelings that come up or whatever. But to live with that underlying ease, I think it has been a huge shift. Like, I don't know that we've put it in words like that before, but I think as I was listening to you, that's what it's like, what was calling to you underneath is just like, but there's not just like an ease of being in my life. And that's really powerful, because it's completely draining otherwise. And it's that thing that, you know how I'm always like, it's like being it versus being, when we were doing a lot of talking after listening to a lot of Michael Singer and all that, it was just like I had this constant vision of like, it's like I live my life like this, me watching my life or being aware of my life or all that, and the character, the whatever I was being was one, versus like, oh, as soon as I created a little bit of separation and I could watch it, then it was like a mirage, even though it's like a mirage that's very strong, right? Like it holds you really strong. Like you walk up to, a lot of the same things come up inside of you and all that. But you were still able to get to this point where you're like, oh, it's kind of a mirage. I kind of made it all up and I could make myself newly and all of that. So anyways, that's a little bit getting into some of the after stuff, but it all kind of, there's there's a timeline, but there's also no
flow. But that's kind of what pushed me forward. So maybe you want to say for you, and then we can continue on of how we came together.
Yeah, I think for me, it's so many things that it will come up as we talk about stuff, because it's just so many things. I guess something really pivotal was having being out of like where we've always been, kind of maybe being isolated. Not that I experienced it all like that, but anyways, that's to kind of set the scene a little bit. And then having a very significant experience happen in my life, like very, what would be said to be traumatic, very traumatic experience, right? That's not how I would talk about it now, but that's how it's talked about, right? So like there's a traumatic experience and then a big dip, kind of like, oh, I thought I was kind of shifting into a new like direction of life, or I've grown a lot. How is this kind of happening again, or whatever it is? And then, so going through like a dip, there was a word I used, defeated. I remember one time we were all chatting in in a group together, with Mumsy, and it was like a feeling of like feeling defeated. It was very strange. Anyways, but then there was a big period of that, a lot of emotions, and then just this starting to get into, we've always listened to stuff, right?
Yes.
We've always listened to so many podcasts, authors, whatever, all these things like self-help, personal development. It's always been a big thing for us, right? But for whatever reason in this period, listening to this particular person, Michael Singer, just shifted something huge in me, huge. So it was this period of difficulty, and then this period of like intense, like, everywhere I'd go, it'd be on in the car, it'd be on at home, it'd be on at night, it'd be on, and I'd read the stuff. Like I'd read I hadn't gotten his books yet, but like I'd read all of his like online stuff that I could find. I'd do whatever, anything that I could. It was just like almost like this obsession with all that kind of content. And so that really started a shift in, it was all, I could, maybe when I think of it now, because we were always doing the work, we were always in that, because we were always doing that. Maybe it's something that built on a bunch of other stuff. Maybe it just landed more deeply. Maybe, I don't know. I always have this question of like, what is it that somehow something in someone's life happens where you're just like, something is different. But it was almost like bringing clarity to all the work we had done. Plus elevating it to some other level. And same to you, same experience as you, right? Where it's like you have this feeling of seeing yourself from above, even though we've read the books and heard things before, like you're the witness, you're the watcher, you're the whatever. But it was something about being able to connect to that in a different way. Maybe we always talk about a lot of the analogies that he has, and something for whatever reason in that moment for us touched us and like moved us, right? So that was kind of this experience of going from a life of kind of up and down, great experiences and hard experiences and all the life stuff, versus this new, it's like a line in the sand, versus this new part of our lives where it feels different than that. Even though you might look on the outside and not be like, oh, wow, like how come everything's different? It's not like that. It's that from inside, everything feels different. It's that our relationship with reality has changed. It's that how we show up in before, during, and after difficult moments, like all of that stuff that has really shifted. So that is what brought those two stories, I guess, together with this shared person. And just as before we go on from there, like just as a little note, that person happened to be a person that made a big difference in our lives.
Yes.
His way of saying it, his voice, his, I don't know, whatever, his analogies, everything, the moment in our lives. And I think that's really important because that's what we hope that we can do.
Absolutely.
Not like a thing of like, I'm going to teach people how I did the 5-step program that got me from sad and depressed to happy. Not like that, right? Like this thing of maybe just exactly the right set of experiences that we happen to have and bring, and what we've, picked up in our wisdom around our experiences and all that stuff. Maybe that's the exact right thing that for somebody else would be there. Just like someone else will listen to Michael Singer and it'll sound very cool and like, wow, that's really beautiful or deep, but it won't actually be like the shift in their life.
That's the pull of why we're here, because we have exactly what you're saying. We had Michael Singer that I remember calling him my guru. I was like, I needed to hear him every day. I needed to have his voice when I'm doing laundry, when I'm cooking. And he was the one who was able to take that other feeling, that experience, and push me to move forward with that. And I believe that there is someone for everyone that can do that. And after everything that we've experienced and how we've grown, we came together and started talking about how you talk to people in your family and friends, and you're like, if only they can have the experience you have, or if only, when we listened to this really helped us, maybe we could help them. Like you've shared stuff with people, I've shared stuff. And then we came together to say, okay, well, why can't we be that for someone? Why can't we have conversations where like two real people having everyday experiences that anyone can relate to, and everyone thinks, oh, well, everyone feels like me. No, people can shift and they can live different experiences of life and realities. And that's why we're sitting today doing what we always do, but we're inviting guests to kind of be part of our conversation and have moments where you're sitting in your living room being like, oh my God, right? And we can feel that because we know, because we've been there. So we can get that feeling of, someone is right now nodding their heads and being like, yes. Right? So that's really how we ended up here. That's our love. We literally love to talk about this all the time.
Constantly.
We talk about it with the kids. We talk about it around them together with other people. And it's just so beautiful because it has really shifted our lives. So that's why we want to share it with everyone else.
And I think, that's the cool thing, that it's just an expression of what we're doing anyway. It's like, of course, as soon as you put on a camera, there's an added element. As soon as you know other people are watching, there's an added element. But it's really just circling back to the authenticity, like it's really just taking what we love. Everyone's like, how do you create? What are you going to do in your life? Like find your passion. Like what do you want to do as a job? Find your passion. Like there's a lot of this thing of like something that pulls you, and it's always been there. But I don't know why we've never just, for whatever reason, it's never been anything beyond just, which is, I mean, it's still everything. It doesn't have to be anything beyond, but it's never been anything beyond just our constant conversations. And so in some ways it feels like there's like a mastery of it because it's like constant and still I think we're babies compared to what we'll be in 10, 20, 30 years.
Absolutely.
Because I hope to only ever grow. But it's really just taking that thing that people always say, like find your passion and spend time on that, like grow from that, because that's really what we just are constantly doing. We're just talking like every chance or all the time. We're just like, and then this experience, and then this happened to me, and I used to do this, and now I do this. And have you ever noticed that, like this constant thing? So it's really cool to be able to just do that, knowing there's a lot of wisdom in what we've experienced because it's been hard, and it's been like we've had a lot of not the most difficult experiences that are possible on this planet, but like we've had really difficult experiences, traumatic experiences, sad experiences, and also life-changing, beautiful experiences, obviously. But it's really cool to be able to have all of that and now feel like we can flow with all of that a lot more than we would like resist the hard stuff and then brace ourselves maybe during the good stuff for the next hard stuff. I don't know, but like not fully, never fully being able to just like, again, ease comes to mind. Have this ease with life.
It all comes from the fear in the past, right? We were always, if something happens today, you're still responding to it. It's a new experience, but you're still responding to it from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 30 years ago, even 2 months ago, right? And it doesn't have to have that same response because it's still a new, different experience. And of course, experiences in the past helps you, but not if you're at the mercy of always responding in that way that no longer serves you.
That's the part, the no longer serves you part.
Doesn't serve you. Why do we do that? We repeat the same thing and we're saying, well, why is it the same result?
And it's coming from a hard place, a dark place. It's coming from a place that, it's not, that's when you know it's like, it's not like there's this thing to achieve, this perfect way of being. It's like, I just know that in this experience that I've had up until most recently, it's like, I just don't want to feel it. It wasn't it, you know, like it was like, there was something that I feel was always, I have always felt was always possible. But then I couldn't reach it. And then I'd use my crutches and my distractions and my this and that. But then like, I feel like we always had this, what we say, I think sometimes is like, we always have this underlying hope, and this optimism, but then it's like, but then why can't I just experience life in a more pleasurable way? Not in the sense that everything is a positive thing, but in the sense that like how I show up is with ease, and then life happens and I dance with life. And sometimes I cry because I'm dancing with life. And sometimes like we're crying from laughing so hard. I think that's like been a big pull for us that even got us to this place to begin with, where, you know, where people go through midlife crises and actually their lives actually get much worse rather than more like of what your experience was, maybe more of like the dark night of the soul, like really, really, really hard, but then bloom, right? So I think that's really what we care about, and what we speak to all the time, and what we want to share, and what we
because we genuinely have shifted, like because
and it's exciting.
It's exciting,
and you want to spread that.
Oh my God, you just are like I want everyone else because I know there's millions like me. I'm not unique, right? I'm not the only person on earth with these feelings. And it's funny when you were talking about not so traumatic experience or it's generally when you talk to people, it's the everyday stuff. And then you have the traumatic experiences. Of course, we all do.
Yeah, the stuff that sticks with us.
And the stuff that every day follows you, because you'll have traumatic experiences, but it's really like the mundane stuff of everyday life. So why would you want to wake up and every moment of your life have it be in any way other than just an experience? Almost just like something happens. Okay, sometimes there's a problem. What is the solution? And I don't make anything stay with me for the day. It doesn't change who I am. That feels amazing that we're able to do that every day, and we get better at it every day. And that's why we talk to each other every day. Because we'll be like, look, this happened today, and Mona would have done this before, but Mona today did this. And then you're like, well, that was amazing. Why wouldn't I just continue, right? And then why wouldn't I love to share? Just like how when you find a product you like, you go and call your family and friends, you're like, oh my God, this is going to help you.
You share it, you buy for them.
Right? So this is like even more powerful because it's their everyday life. Why do we talk about it around our children, right? Because we want them to get to where we got this stage of life much sooner, right? So it's the reason, again, why we're sitting here and having this conversation and inviting everybody in to have those, oh my God, yes. Oh my God, I want this. And be that spark in somebody, because that spark is there. It's just something brings it out.
Yeah, because we were just like, how are we going to share in a way that we want to share, but that's impactful, hopefully, you know what I mean? But that feels very true to our experience of life. And of course, like we have a lot of creative ideas, and we have a lot of things we would love to do and all of that. And I think that's cool. I think that just makes me think of the fact that when something gets out of your way, like all this work that we've done, when something gets out of your way, it's like whatever was already underneath there just starts to, you know, you're like, oh, why do I have this creative thought? Or, oh, I have that insight, or I have that, whatever. It's like, I guess our minds are not so busy with the junk.
That's it.
That we finally can be like, oh.
We removed all that. So our vision became a bit more clear because our focus was not on the junk. Or every day we're moving the focus away from the junk. And
not this obsession with curating how we feel or like distracting or whatever. Like, you know, we're in the drama of what's going on in our lives, basically, right? Or in someone else's life or whatever. All the things that we all distract ourselves with. And so we could just have access to something better, something bigger. And I think that's so cool.
It's really cool.
Yeah, because now it feels natural. Like we'll talk and be like, oh, I was thinking this, or what about this idea, or what about this name, or what about this thing? And that's, I think, a really cool point too, that we've shifted so many things, even just from the short time that we started talking about all of this as a possibility to now. Like so many things have changed, right? Like we started with one idea and we're like, that is it. Oh my God, that's so much more real to us. And then it's like, no, that is it. No, that is it. No, that is it. But not this thing of what I probably would have judged myself before of like, oh, you don't just pick something and not
stick with that, or else that's failure in some way.
Yeah, it's like we can tell there's a thing. There's like this thing there, and we're like, we're creating something. But it's like every step, the window gets wiped a little bit more, and it like we can see out a little bit clearer. And then so it really does feel like, oh, I just pivoted to this, or I just this made me think of this, and it shifted my whole perspective to that. And I guess maybe when there's not the constant lack of self-worth and the questioning yourself and all that, then your mind doesn't even go to, oh, you see, you don't know what you're doing. You see, no, you can't do it and make any difference. It doesn't go there. It's just like, okay, no. Okay, let's try something again. It's like trying to solve a math problem. You're just like, okay, no, not this, not that. Okay, no, that. And then, and
just
so it's,
what you're saying makes me think of another person we listened to, Neville. It's nothing is a mistake. It's just redirection. Like everything 100%. You said was exactly how I feel about what took us from the beginning to here.
Yeah.
It was just redirection, removing the doubts, removing the self-worth, like you were saying, removing any of that other stuff. It's an equation. Yeah. It's a math equation. Yeah. It's a problem. And you're just finding solutions instead of immediately giving yourself an F.
Yeah.
And saying, okay, well, because now there's a problem that this is garbage. No. Where, how do I get through this with some solution to get to that? Because I have washed away all that other stuff. Whereas old Mona just would have been, oh, no. Mm-hmm. No, see, you're not creative. See, you're not good enough. See, and then you prove it to yourself, and then you move on with life. And then for a week you're sad, and you're like, "Why am I so?" And then all these things come up, which is so real. Like we've done it millions of times.
Gosh. Us and everyone and their cats.
Right? Exactly. But then when you do the work, what do we always say? Do the inner work, and you do the work every day. As those layers get washed away, then again, you're just sitting with what's in front of you.
Yeah.
And then that creativity, that spark, whatever it is for you, it's more present.
Yeah.
And then you just live into that. And then it's just solutions. Redirection has been such one of my favorite words versus failure. Like even when you just touched on, we had a big move. That was just a redirection. We just needed to go through that to redirect us, to get us to here, versus this mistake or this, right? Because that's a word that we use a lot, and words have power. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Words have power. So as soon as you say mistake, how does that land?
Yeah.
Right? That emotion is very strong.
Huge.
And then that could shift you to a really bad place or a really good place. But most of the time, mistake comes with
judgment. It's coming from judgment. It's coming from that deep well of lack and not enoughness. So you're like, it just keeps pulling in more and more. I don't know. I think it's so crazy that, and it's not even like we're like, okay, we're going to use these words now. It's just the actual experience is that it's a redirection, that you're actually like, you feel yourself a part of this. I don't know. I really feel myself a part of this big, how do I even describe, like, I don't want to say story, but like this big thing, this big, I don't know, very like powerful, divine, I don't know, this thing. I feel like I'm part of this thing, and it's almost like seeing yourself in the middle of the thing, and you're like, oh, I'm just a part of this big thing, you know, and it's very deep, and I can't even say another word but thing. Like, it's just I see it in my mind. I just like, I can visualize it. I'm just part of this big thing, and here I am, and I'm in my life, and all of that stuff. And then, so I feel like it's such a big difference, because I'm not convincing myself that it's a redirect. Sorry, that it's no, don't say mistakes. Like I'm not doing that. And maybe there was a point in our lives, there for sure was, where it had to be a little more like that. But right now it doesn't feel like that. It's just like, oh yeah, okay, no, not that, this, or okay, what's my environment telling me, or what's coming up inside. All of that is just like watching a lot more. And I think that even just that shift alone is worth everything.
It's everything.
Because it's your everyday experience. Again, the thing of like the relationship to your reality, and that feels hugely shifted, and it feels very different, and that's why everything is the same but everything's completely different. And it's this I think this huge theme that always comes up for us in conversations, or for me, is like this shift away from my reality has to look a certain way, or I'm waiting to, I'm sourcing everything from inside of myself, from outside of me, to be able to shift that and not be like, when I get the XYZ, or what's happening in the XYZ once I have it, and all that, instead of all of that, it being a lot more internally sourced. And again, that thing of correcting, or something comes up and I'm like, oh, no, not that. Or I'll live in something and be very aware that it's passing through me or something. That's been a powerful thing too. Like, I need some time for something to just pass through me, and that's okay, but I'm not it. You know, like there's that separation.
Well, the work has brought us to this point to even learn that we can do that. Like, I know that I had thoughts that like, this is how it is, and this is how my brain works, and this is how my thoughts work. I've said this before. I am an angry person. I I can't deal with hard problems. Like, you make these statements about yourself fact, you believe it, and then if you cannot come to the realization that you can change that, well, then nothing else really can help you in that state of mind. So everything you were saying was because we were able to be like, oh, I don't have to think this way. Where did this thought even come from? Why did I decide I'm an angry person? Why do I go through life experiencing things that way? But before, I didn't have that little bit of wisdom. So those were hard truths about myself, hard truths about anybody that was around me. I even did that for other people. Even though, like you said, we would read things, we'd be like, but not for me. So why could I not do it? How come actually take these people could do it? Right? And so to be able to even sit here today is because that was also a big thing. That when you would share with me Michael Singer podcasts, I would hear it from that place of like, but I can't do that. I can't just wake up every day and like not get upset about this. Like, that's annoying. Like, that's not okay. And that goes back to what you said about like, my reality has to be a certain way, because things had to be a certain way for me to be okay inside. Right. So those were, again, that made up things that I had been living with, not realizing I was creating my own suffering, long story short, which we're going to talk about so much. But that was what it was. But the thought was, wake up, what's going to happen today? And literally, like you were saying, like
you're like going out in like a shield and
you should never go to bed with this like I survived the day feeling. And I had a lot of those. So those were the things that you're like, you know, this nagging voice was like, that's not how it should be. But you're like, but that's how it is. So that's a huge thing that was able to get us to even start. And then that's what triggered me to listen. And then I was like, no, I'm going to do it, because he did it. And thousands of people, millions of people do it. And then that's when I texted you and was like, what are the books? So that just kind of sparked me to be like, yes, you can as well. Even though still underlying self-doubt and worth was there, but it got me over one mountain.
And in a fast way. I think what's been powerful is that it's fast. It's this thing, one of maybe I would say my limiting beliefs is like there's so much hardship or learning or whatever you have to do to get to something. Like, you know, healing is lifelong, growing and all that. I believe all that stuff. But I also think the really big shift was that we didn't think that we needed so much work to get there. It was a shift of perspective, I guess, but even perspective is not the right word, but it was like something had shifted in how we saw something that allowed us to access it more quickly. I didn't have to like go to, you know, I'm going to go and do like public speaking to learn how to like sit and talk in front of a camera. I'm not going out to learn skills. It's like stuff just falls away in a very beautiful, natural way without, because you see that it was just pretend and you put it there. That's it. Like or life put it there, or you showed up on earth and you were supposed to get rid of it. Who knows, whatever that story is. But the thing of, the ease has been really powerful. It's just like, oh, it just can just fall away. And I don't have to like do all these practices, and I don't have to, even the meditation. That's huge. And the commitment to it is life altering. But at the same time, it's not needing any of that. It's like the Michael Singer thing that we would listen to. He's like, you don't have to go sit in a cave for whatever. And it's just this realization of, oh, it could just be a one step could be a jump, a leap without this whole long thing. And so that was
huge. And that's why the last 6 months to a year, would you say, has felt like a fast forward.
Just before moving back. I think that was like the spark.
Started it,
And then just the continuation and the, you know, the growing from there, I guess. But it's been that recent.
It's been amazing.
Yeah.
And all of that is what we would love to share with everybody and have everyone come in and sit on our conversations. And we're going to go into so much detail about all the things that we touched on, because it's themes in life. So it's always going to come up with different experiences, and people are going to watch and think about it for their experience, right? So that's what we are creating by doing this. Is this fast forward that we've been able to do by doing all this work and still doing it every day, is to get to this point. And it's just such a great feeling, and you just want to spread the love with everybody. And that's,
so we hope a lot of people watch and a lot of people actually
and to join us. And
to feel like you're sitting at like on the other side on the couch, which is exactly what we do. We just sit across from each other on the couch, and then we just so we hope that that's the feeling we can invite everyone into.
That's great.
That's the first podcast.